Here we go, the 60 country, Ecuador. So when I was in Colombia, I received a volunteer offer on HelpX from Galapagos. It's a invitation to be a volunteer in a guest house, like bed and breakfast in Galapagos. So it was my very first time to receive the invitation. So I just decided, okay, I will go. Despite at that time, I have no idea about Galapagos, not at all. So I entered into Ecuador from Colombia overland. And then when I arrived in Quito, in the bus station, I met another Asian face, another Asian girl. I met her earlier in the border, but we didn't greet each other. And then we met again. And then she seems not to notice that she need to pay to enter the public toilet. So I just told her and then keep an eye for her luggage. And after that, we checked out with each other where to stay. And then she found out the hostel I was trying to stay was a little bit far. So immediately I changed my plan. So I just followed her plan to go to the hostel she found it. And then when we arrived at the hostel, there's only one dorm bed and one single room with a double bed. Then we're happy to agree that we are going to share the bed that night. So she's from South Korea. Her name is Sue, and she used to work as a nurse, and she saved a few years' salary in order to travel around the world. And then we were so happy to meet each other because our route in South America almost the same. And then she's also going to Galapagos, but because she had a trip for Peru already booked, so she has to go to Galapagos as soon as possible. And actually the day when I arrived at Galapagos is the day she's going to departure. So okay, we can only spend some time in Quito, so we just enjoyed each other's company. We went out for sightseeing, and then even the police offered us a lift because the safety in Quito is not that good. After that, I continued my journey. She went to the island first. So after Quito, I went to Baños, get to experience the hot spring and get to see the local celebration for some festival. And after that, I went to Guayaquil. In Guayaquil, I was couch surfing. My host barely speak English. And then my host was kind enough to send me to the airport in Guayaquil during my flight day to Galapagos. And then I still remember the check-in procedure was so much complicated. But as long as I realized that I'm going to Galapagos, so everything makes sense. And when I entered Galapagos, I still needed to pay like $100 to enter the island. That's why, my volunteer host told me, in the future they are trying to make Galapagos a luxury, a fancy tourist place instead of a backpackers place. So perhaps next volunteer will come. Anyway, I just made my way in Galapagos. I was in San Cristobal, and then from the airport I can just walk to town. The place where I volunteered was a bed and breakfast place, and I got a single room with a shower and a double bed. It was just so nice after traveling for such a while and got to my own place. And what I was doing is mainly in the morning and to translate the customer's needs to the lady who prepared the breakfast, because the lady only speaks Spanish. And then after that, I got a lot of rest time. And then in the late afternoon, I back to the check-in counter in assistance about the check-in procedure. And then I met so many tourists Mostly they are from Germany. Different people has a different reason for coming to Galapagos. Some are, into diving, snorkeling. Some are into the nature, the diversity about the animals, and some are just because get the influence about the documentary, or some are because the child is starving, and so on. For me, it's just I got the volunteer offer, and I was happy to meet another Chinese girl. I believe she's the only two. Together with me on San Cristobal Island, and she worked in the Confucian Academy to teach local people Chinese. So we spent some time together, and then even she cooked for me for a different few times. And her name is Vivi. She told me she has a very smooth life in China, so she decided to make herself a challenge. So she just the first time to live abroad, that was coming to an island in Galapagos, South America, which is so far away from China. And during my free time, I also did some island hopping. I went to some other island like Isabela and so on. I met some other traveler like the local Ecuador people and some traveler from US. And then I was happy to see the blue-footed booby. It's kind of bird in Galapagos. And I was in Galapagos just for a couple of days, and then it was really funny on the island like San Cristobal. During the afternoon, the local islander prefer to take a nap. It's really similar as where I was growing up back in mainland China. And but when I first arrived, I didn't notice that. So most of the time when I try to seek food during the lunchtime, I always encounter the restaurant is closed because they were taking their nap. And the island is very quiet, peace, because most of the island they don't have much more people who lives there. So it's really peace. And then my host told me, you can even hear your thoughts or your mind. And my host, Andrea, he runs the bed and breakfast place with his father. They were both artists, and their guest house was just so adorable, very arty. And even some part of the fountain in San Cristobal Airport was their piece of work. So almost everyone knows them. And then my host looks very young. He told me perhaps he eats mostly fish, and yeah, I believe so. Fish is a very healthy meat. And after I finished my volunteer job in Galapagos, I still remembered my host and the Chinese girl seeing me off in the airport. And then I returned back to the mainland in Guayaquil, and then I didn't stay overnight. Immediately I took another night bus to Peru. So in my perception, I really enjoyed my stay in Ecuador, because when I was traveling in South America, I was thinking I want to slow down a little bit to do some volunteer and to learn some Spanish, so which I was luckily accomplished this. And still the next time I would love to go back to Ecuador, perhaps Galapagos. I don't mind, because it's a really lovely place, and then not everyone gets an opportunity to be a volunteer there. So I really appreciate my host. And the next coming episode, that will be Peru. Thank you very much for listening. I will catch you up with the next one. Bye for now.